Welcome, everybody, to the Bandit Radio Hour. It's been a minute since we've been here. We're going to be getting a little bit back on track. I hope everyone's been doing good. Thank all you fine folks for listening. Really, the support's been overwhelming. We keep growing, and I keep appreciating it more and more. Merce, how you doing tonight?
Fair.
Merce's birthday was last week, and he just had a bad week for it. We're not going to get into the details of it, but old boy's had a tough run. He's had a rough time or two. But hey, we're going to start off tonight a little bit lighthearted. And I have to talk about how I came upon a scene right before I came here, actually. That was, I think it started out something like a Disney movie. And I'm not gonna start this story from where I came upon it. I'm gonna start it from where I believe it happened. It involved our 2 bottle-fed calves that we keep at the house, and we let them out. Like they stay in like a 2-acre pen most of the time, and not most of the time, like a little bit of the time, we let them out into like our backyard. It's like 3 or 4 acres. Let them graze around, and we feed them and stuff. So we let them out about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and let them graze. Now they can also get to the barn. But I section off like the hay part, where we keep all of our hay so they can't get into that. In our feed room, it shuts, but not good. Like you got to jerk the door shut and the knob doesn't even catch the latch all the way. Like if you go up and slap it really hard, it'll open. So anyways, but everything's been good since I've been doing that for a couple of months. Well, I guess these peckerwoods are grazing in the barn, walk up and they know the feed's in that room. They know that's where I pour their feed, and they'll follow me in there sometimes. So I know one of them got to look at the other one and said, "Listen, this dumbass ain't here right now. We can go in this feed room, and we're going to have everything we can eat. We'll eat till we're stupid and we can't move anymore." So they mosey over, and this is like a Disney Pixar heist movie. They make their way. One of them starts kicking, starts headbutting. They wiggle that door open. They see the 1 open bag of feed and the 6 closed bags of feed laying on the side. As one rider, he's red and white, makes his way in, and Dolly behind him. They get to eat a little bit of it. They're enjoying themselves so much that they turn around and shut the door behind them. So you have 2 calves that are about 400 pounds each, stuck in a room at 11 o'clock in the morning. 11 or 12 o'clock, we're guessing they got in there. I go out to feed up at 6 o'clock this afternoon, and this has been in the Florida sun. They've been in a room with no AC and 10 on top. And as I'm looking around, Ryder, Dolly, where y'all at? Got milk bottles for y'all. We're looking around. My mom goes, "Josh, I see him through the window of the tack room." All the windows are shut in there, by the way. What I opened the door to,
I bet it smelled amazing.
Looked less like a Disney movie and more like the bathroom from Saw. Only so much worse. These poor calves been there for 6 hours, and I'm sure like they got to eat and at one point went like, "Hey, Dolly, how are we gonna get out of this motherfucker?" It's all right. Just keep eating the feed. And dude, there was probably a half an inch of shit and piss coated on every floor. The calves, when I opened the door, were slipping and sliding in it. Feed everywhere, mud everywhere, piss and shit everywhere.
We did this to ourselves, but we're glad you're here.
Yeah, like the gaze at our gluttony. That's when it learned. Then they ran out and drank like a gallon of water each and started eating grass. So that's what I got into before I came here, and I was just like, you know what? There's a lesson to be learned there. I'm not learning it anytime soon, but I hope some of y'all did. Keep going after what you want. To hell with anything that gets in your way. That's what I learned. So that's how my day has started. I've made it to Merce's shack. We are recording. We attempted this 2 nights ago. And one part, I don't know how much I was feeling like recording. The other part was
I was blind drunk.
My producer was wasted, and got into a rant about the Andy Griffith show that went on far too long. And
I stand by that. That might be a soundbite one day.
It might be. We might release that on the Secret Files or something like that. But I tell y'all, if anybody out there is under 75 and has any inkling of interest of why Andy Griffith, Merce, don't correct me. I'm just stood down the federal government to help a town drunk on top of his house that was shooting at people?
No, but it started with the town drunk.
Okay. So Merce will explain that in autistic drunken detail on a later episode, on a later clip. But yeah, so let me think. What's happened since our last episode? Well, our last episode will actually be coming out today as we're recording. But since we put one out, school shootings, that happens.
Well, everything, not just schools anymore. After a graduation party, and I think there was another one today.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, conservative talking point incoming, which is a correct one. There's in Chicago and D.C. and Baltimore every single day, but it never goes reported. Hell, I think Bradenton. I remember when I went to school over there. Someone looked this up. I might be wrong, and I'm welcome to the criticism. But one of the things I heard about Bradenton when I was going to school in like 2012 was that on average in Bradenton, Florida, between that city and Sarasota, which were like neighboring cities, on average for an entire year there was one drive-by shooting a day. But I mean, like the one conservative talking point that's valid is this stuff happens every day to lower income neighborhoods, and it just never gets reported because that doesn't scare the hell out of the middle class. George Carlin, it's a joke I did not understand until the last very few years. And by the way, he's one. You ever listen to George Carlin, the comedian?
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, dude, listen to him in 2022. His stuff he would do in the early 90s. It'll blow your mind. He's so far ahead of the curve. And I remember listening to him like right when I got out of high school, starting college. I'm like, I agree with some of your stuff, but like some of it, I don't even get where you're coming from. Now that I'm an adult, with my mind and watching it, I go, oh God, he was right about a lot. But one of the things he said the way our system is set up, and he would say it was intentionally set up this way, and I don't know if I fully agree with him on that. But he said, the rich is there to give the middle class something to obtain, something to strive towards, something to keep them working. But something they'll never reach, or very, very seldom, very like a lottery.
It's like dangling a carrot.
Dangling a carrot. And he goes, middle class there to work. The poor class is to motivate the working class to keep working. And the only reason we have homeless is to scare the shit out of everybody to make sure they keep doing it. And like back then I was like, that's not true. Now I'm like, oh, he might have a point. There's a lot more homeless people than there used to be.
Fear.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, California gets a lot of shit, as they should. But I mean, man, so like the biggest cities around us are like what? Not even the biggest, but just some you would definitely call cities and not towns. Would it be like Port Charlotte, Sarasota, Fort Myers? Dude, you see homeless camps. You see homeless families. Like, and I'm like, oh, that's not like a homeless man and a homeless lady that had babies. No, that was a family that was living in a house. That got evicted. That, don't get me wrong, I'm as like liberal as they come when it comes to contracts and stuff like that. But man, that's on one hand, you can't. Ooh, all right, let's get into this murky gray area.
Can't save everyone.
You can't save everyone. You can't literally. That'll doom everybody with that mindset. That's communism. But I don't know. I mean, kind of. That's an arguable point. But I mean, like, dude, on one hand, if you sign a contract that says, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars a month, and if I fail to pay that, you can come and take my house. That's a contract you signed, Bubba. You're the one that's gambling your family on this. And hey, dude, if it's a secure gamble, like, 99% chance winning because if you make a shitload of money or whatever, you got things going right, great. But, the lower that percentage goes, the more of a risk and the higher, if you're gambling your family on. But on the other hand, to give one analogy, so like my family, Merce, tell me if this is right, at least from my personal experience growing up, might be one of the families, for me, might call land rich, dirt poor.
Yeah, that's how most of the big families are, really.
And my mom, who had like personally a 100-acre ranch in Mayaca with an old farmhouse on it, There was an elderly couple who were a sweet old couple. Oh, no, the old man ended up kind of being an asshole in his later years. But they asked her when they got evicted if they could rent from her cheap now because they had lower income of like $150 a month. And my mom, just knowing them personally, was like, yes, I'll let y'all stay. And they never paid it once. they never paid. But my mom, because she has too much of a heart of gold, could like not kick this kind old couple out. And I'm like, and that's, if all you're doing is going to banks to like get your loans, or like some landlord that doesn't know you, that you're depending on rent, like, don't expect them to have sympathy when you're the one that's made this gamble of your living situation.
I think I'm a bad person because I probably would have kicked him out.
Dude.
Or then my mind was like, well, then I'd make him work for me. Like, I'd make the old lady, like, crochet stuff. I was like, oh, no, that's a sweatshop. Is how my mind went.
That's called tenant farming.
Whoa.
Sharecroppers. No, but, like, and I don't know, like, really, I'm even mixed on that because I knew the people personally. And I'm like, I'm happy my mom wasn't heartless and kicked these old people out onto the streets, but it's like at the same time, like, can y'all get together $100 to pay my mom a month? Like, that's that. I know you're on food stamps because you're poor. I know, which, like, God bless you, whatever.
Slide us some of them free steaks over.
Some of these steakums. Hey, by the way, side note to my side note.
Pay me in government cheese.
Have you ever seen Steakum's Twitter account?
No.
Dude, you know what Steakums are,
yes.
right? It's like, you know how like corporations have these Twitter accounts trying to be like hip and cool and tweet that? Dude, the guy that owns Steakums said, screw all that. I am saying my opinion and you all go to hell. And you could tell he's like a conservative leaning guy. But I think he's more of just he's more of a you than he is a conservative. He's like, I'm just going to talk shit and ruffle feathers. And you see people reply like, do you not have anything better to do than be on social media all day? No, I own Steakums. This is what I do.
Yeah. Wendy's will throw shade too.
Dude, he will. No, dude, he does it in like a different way than Wendy's. Like Wendy's will throw shade, but maybe we'll do some colorful editing in that here in a second. You listeners will hear me adding some of his great tweets on here, but we'll look them up and cut them in. They're great.
We'll share them to
follow me at Bandit Radio Hour. We'll quote tweet some of their tweets. They're golden, man. If you get tired of, I'm not even going to say they're anti-woke or woke. They're like not either. They're just like little shit starters, and I love that.
I like the Iron Sheik.
Dude, I turned him on to this. All right, sorry if we're going into Twitter nerd territory. I didn't have a Twitter until 6 or 7 months ago. And people, I gotta tell you, it is fun. It's definitely unhealthy, but it is fun. It is just shit talking the app, and no one takes it too seriously. There's some. All right, hang on. There's two. To me, Twitter is good for two things. One is trolling and shit talking. It's wonderful hearing dumb people with very dumb low bar opinions just get swatted out of the stadium. But then, like, I think we talked about this on the first episode when, like, the Ukraine and Russia war was breaking out. It's like, oh, we don't have to watch CNN to get the war coverage. We're listening to Ubek in Ukraine in his backyard with an iPhone filming a U.S.-bought Apache helicopter fight a Russian helicopter. And those were some wild footage.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of them were video games that got debunked later, but...
Oh, yeah, like what?
I could tell they were video games.
What was it? The ghost?
I loved all the old people sharing it, and like, you guys need your glasses, because that's...
Boomers!
Clearly pixel, but...
Man, I don't mean this about every boomer, and I don't like to believe in collectives, but collectively, in this one instance, boomers might be the worst generation that ever grazed the earth. And here's my best evidence that boomers will probably agree with. Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at our generation that y'all raised. Like it's all going to hell. There's optimism in the future, but Dave Smith had it. Like, there was problems with the really old. When I say the old ways, I mean like stuff like something that blew my mind, and I see a lot of Mexican immigrants do like the old ways of like kind of how a lot of Americans used to be. And one of the examples was, and I'm not even saying I don't agree with this technically. One of the guys I worked with, if his wife was outside and like I came up to like ask him for something like that, she went inside. Like the woman's not in the front yard when another man's there, because that's no, like that. She doesn't talk to you. I talk to you. I'm the man. Like, dude, there's a lot of stuff wrong with that system. Like when it comes to, I mean, all right. We can always throw them in asylums. that was their solution. Like, look, they're getting uppity from all the suppression we're giving them. Let's throw them in a nut house. But like, when you go 180 degrees the other direction, there used to be a right and a wrong. Like, there is a way that men treat women, and there were parts about that was wrong, but there's also very noble and virtuistic parts of it. Like, something you hear women complain about a lot of days, like, they don't hold the door open for me. They don't da-da-da-da-da. It's like, well, the rules kind of went out the window 20 years ago, and I'm not even complaining, because I still do that shit, because I enjoy doing that shit. Like, that's how my parents raised me. But
you can't ask for it one way and then you don't follow your like role.
And what it's done, and I don't even blame the chicks. I'm not even necessarily blaming the chicks on this one. It's when they had the counter revolution in the 60s, they said all the stuff we've been mostly doing the past couple of 100 years. Most now there were segments of society that didn't follow along with any of that crap, that did their own thing. But for a large part of the medium, men wore suits, women wore dress, but when you threw all that out, there's no foundation to grab onto. It's like now it really depends on the chick or the guy you talk to that's either like, yes, I'm a fan of these virtuous old ways, or no, to hell with the old ways. I believe in equality. Get your own damn door. But here's the thing. Here's what I'm getting at with that. I see validity either way.
Yeah.
Both of them have great points. Both of them have great criticisms. And the fact that people pick a hill to die on that on either side, I'm just like, well, let's just do what makes you happy. Like, well, if you like the old ways, find a woman that likes the old ways. If you don't like them, find a stripper. They're very anti-old ways. Don't give me your money.
Well, unfortunately, there's not even any strippers in Arcadia.
It could be worse. There could be strippers in Arcadia.
You painted a picture.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
There was, when I lived in Corsicana, Texas, which is a town roughly the size of Arcadia. They had a strip club that had closed down called Whispers. And that's how everybody said, you want to go to Whispers. And they all said it under their big Texas mustache to give it a little extra feathers on it. And now here's the thing. The cowboy I worked with in Texas, Austin. See, technically, to give a woman money to take her clothes off in that part of Texas was illegal. So how they got around this was, you went to Whispers and you bought Whisper dollars. And you gave those to the stripper.
Literally paid in whispers.
And let me tell you, I would ride around Texas with this cowboy who was just my age, a little millennial cowboy, and he's like 5'8", and God bless him, he's my favorite. Not 5'8", he's a little shorter than that. He's my favorite kind of short person. Opposite of Napoleon complex. Like, we'll talk shit about him being short, and we'd be riding through Corsicana. He goes, "Whisper stripper right there." I'm like, "Whoa, God, did they tattoo the stretch marks on her?" Like, just, it's a good thing small towns don't have strip clubs.
That's why I've only ever been to Emerald City once, and that's in a bigger town than here,
Dude,
Port Charlotte.
Did you go on amateur night?
No, I went on for a buddy's birthday. We were like 19 or 20, and bad.
Dude.
One girl had a lisp. She's like, "You want to dance?"
I remember y'all talking about that.
I was like, "No."
Dude, I've been a handful of times to a strip club, like once in New Orleans and Emerald City in Port Charlotte. That's it. And I don't get the significance. There's a whole internet out there that doesn't cost any money. But, no, the hell was I going with that?
Whisper dollars.
No, not whisper dollars. Amateur night. It was amateur night. That's what I was talking about. So this is what this was at Port Charlotte. I know. I'm pretty certain there's got to be other strip clubs that do it. I haven't heard of it. But what it basically was, I think it was like the second Wednesday of every month, they would have amateur night. And what that was, I mean, they got the regular strippers. They got on like a schedule. But on amateur night, anybody could get up on stage. Anybody from all, I think maybe the only requirement was that.
You had to be 18.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, although it wouldn't surprise me if real slutty 17-year-old snuck up there a couple of times. But the one night I went there, dude, it's a big strip club, right? I mean, like, space-wise, you can walk around, what, like 50 yards by 30 yards, like the walk area? I don't know.
I've never heard someone measure that.
I was thinking football yard, something relatable. Never mind.
It's a large building.
It's a large building. Dude, it was crammed shoulder to shoulder. And I guess on amateur night, there's like, they have like one of those machines that measures the volume of the crowd. And whoever gets the most volume, whoever wins, gets like, I'm trying not to exaggerate. I wanted to say it was like 10 grand or something stupid.
Huh.
Dude, you saw women. Dude, like, I don't care about strip clubs. It's one of the most brilliant capitalist invention by women. Like, oh, yes, men, give us your money. We're going to get you very horny and drunk, so you'll give us more money. Then we're sending you home.
I'm not a big fan of lap dances for that reasons, but I do like being able to have a beer in my hand and look at titties.
That's nice. That, like, for the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But, dude, taking that out of it, if those women were fully clothed and dude, they could work for Cirque du Soleil. There were chicks that came from Miami, from Jacksonville, like that all go to Emerald City on that one night to try to get, and even if they don't get the 10 grand, they get a ton of money and just tips from everybody there. So yeah, Emerald City was wild. Don't go anymore. Like I think the last time I went to a strip club, I might have been 21 and I'm 31 now. Good for everybody else that does it. Not my thing. All right, that was like, I know I started out mentioning shootings, but we detoured hard, but we're going to get back onto that, actually get off the fun stuff for a minute. So, yeah, the shooting in Buffalo, I mean, it's been some time since it happened, like 3 weeks. I'm sure it doesn't seem that long to the people that fucking got shot, but the ones that are still alive, but,
yeah.
but, I don't know, that sucks. So where did it happen at? The one in Buffalo.
Supermarket?
At a supermarket?
Yeah.
And it's in Buffalo and New York.
And I didn't follow anything more, but something about one of the cops or off-duty guys killed had invented a water-powered car.
Oh, yeah, that was...
I never followed.
No, dude, he's got a ute. So, all right, this is something we can... Sure, why not? We've talked about enough conspiracies. What's one more to add to the batch?
I'd buy that car with whisper dollars.
Hashtag bring back whisper dollars.
It's probably less inflated than the US dollar.
It's going to be the new cryptocurrency, whisper dollars. It actually started in Texas. But no, so I read about this, then Merce sent me it, and it made me investigate a little more. Now here's my thing. I think Alex Jones takes it a couple steps too far. I don't believe in crisis actors unless there's some really sufficient evidence, but I haven't seen enough sufficient evidence. Do I believe that there could be a person capable of shooting up a place to just deliver a political message, like make it a guise that, fill in the blank. They could work for the CIA. They could be by themselves wanting to just be a lone wolf and send out a political message. But I know that guy that did the Buffalo shooting, he was a weird kind of political mix. Like, he had a rebel flag, but he also quoted, like, the Communist Manifesto. He was like, for how I best heard him described, and I didn't read through all of his manifesto and stuff, was like very racist, authoritarian left wing.
Not all the pieces go
Like,
together.
I think probably a good way of saying it was like economically he was left wing. Like, oh, we shouldn't have CEOs, and like it should be like distributed amongst the people, and yeah, the white people. Like, I think that was his. But also, you saw in his frickin' room. I saw pictures of his room. He was a what do they call them? Bronies.
It's like the My Little Pony people.
Yes, dude. Yeah, there's like it's weird. You see a big ass rebel flag, then right beside it, you see all these like My Little Pony statues and stuff, and I'm like,
I bet he didn't own any black ponies.
what? Probably had some weird kink with only the black ones. No, so that was him. But one of the people that got murdered. So I saw on the meme, it's like, hey, I can't remember his name. We might have to look it up and add it to the notes in post-production or edit it and slip it in here in about 5 seconds. The guy started a YouTube channel on how he was making a car that runs on water. And it was like a legit YouTube channel and him figuring out he just happens to be one of the people that got killed. And there's this famous Opie and Anthony show. Thing they did where it was probably like 10 to 15 years ago. And I never even listened to a lot of Opie and Anthony. This is just one of their things. They're looking up a guy who invented a car that runs on water. And they were like, let me guess, suicide by gun. And like while they're on air joking about it, their producer looks it up. Is like, oh, the guy did commit suicide shortly after he invented the car. So that's like 10 to 15 years ago.
Aaron Salter Jr.
Aaron Salter
That's
Jr.
his name. And 3 days ago, an article was released saying that his slaying was unrelated to his work on water-powered engines.
Have to explicitly say that. Unrelated to water-powered engines.
What a odd thing to say.
Yeah, we're going to get into more of people, the press releasing very specific wording to give us the news on things. Why do you have to say it like that?
Yeah.
But as far as the Buffalo shooting, yeah, one of the people that were killed was a guy that was working on making a car run on water. And check out his YouTube channel for yourself. What's his name one more time?
Aaron Salters Jr.
Aaron Salters Jr., just to be clear on that. So, we get that, and 2 weeks later, Uvalde happens. I gotta say, as the title of 2 episodes ago at this point is Convenience.
Yeah.
Now everyone's remembering the Democrats for gun control and not COVID and not wrecking the economy and not... By the way, hang on.
Or arming Afghanistan.
But yeah, and by the way, I'm sorry, not just the Democrats, the Republicans too. Because we got to remember, during this COVID lockdown, there's only like 3 governors that stood up against this. There's DeSantis, who... If we were going to have a monarch of Florida, I mean... I'd be like, all right, for a monarch, we could take him. But him, Abbott, and the lady in North Dakota or South Dakota, I can't remember which one it was, but she actually, she actually never locked down. And I was like, how libertarian of you? And she said, by the way, we will make sure weed is never legal in this state. And I'm like, what? Whatever. Pick your poison.
You can go outside, but you can't get high.
Yeah, pretty much. They're still in the 50s down there. You can cough in your neighbor's face, but not if it's from weed smoke. Christy Noam? That might have been. If that's her name, I'm impressed with myself. Anyways, everybody's forgetting about the COVID crap, and we're all looking at gun control. Like, there is a part of my brain that at least admits, like, that conveniently fits a narrative for the powerful. But I could be absolutely wrong. Could be coincidence. Could truly just be convenience.
Christy Nolan.
Yeah, I was right. Wait, South Dakota or North Dakota?
South Dakota.
Yeah. I thought it was North Dakota, so I was wrong about that. So the Uvalde shooting. Good God. So many things. So many things about this don't add up. From like what the guy did have a background check.
Yeah, that's what they said originally.
That's what they said originally. He did have a background check. It sounds like a town that's about as poor as Arcadia. What, the median income's like $40,000 a year or something like that. And the guy gets a F-150 that's probably
Yeah, it was originally his, but then came out later that no, he stole it from his grandmother. But
Yeah.
all of it's weird.
That morning, he shot his grandmother, and he got two AR-15. So hang on, I'm jumping around a little bit. He got an F-150 and two AR-15s, and like somehow got he's 20 years old.
No, like 18.
18. So I just know. I know I didn't have that money at that age.
Yeah, he had some higher dollar ones.
Yeah, who knows how he acquired that? Maybe he was a drug dealer. Like I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Not paint it so conspiratorial. I'm trying to at least steel man the narrative's
I feel like
argument.
he just had a letter slipped under his door, and there was like, there's a duffel bag in the dumpster.
No, I feel like it was more like he got a phone call and he answered it. It was like, hello, and they were like, the fox quietly trots at midnight. And he was like, oh, activate. Like, yes, he was MK Ultra. They switched him on. But so he gets there. That morning, he starts out by shooting his grandmother in the face.
Over a phone bill or
something. I'm not even sure what it was over, but shoots her in the face. She calls the cops. Within minutes, he is driven to the school. After he posts on Facebook and private messages to people, I'm going to go shoot up a school. On that note, let's take a break. Take a sidestep on that. I see a lot of people in the media going like, "Well, why didn't Facebook immediately report that said that he was shooting up a school?" It's like, you realize how many people say something similar to that and don't do it?
Yeah.
Like, my main thing is like the old school Xbox Live chats. Like, they're not so bad as they used to be, but I wonder how many times someone said, "I'm gonna come over and shoot you and your whole family if you kill me one more time in team deathmatch."
That's what's wrong with today's kids. They didn't have to grow up in that.
Yeah, we were baptized in fire. If you sucked, people let you know it.
You got called like just the most creative names. Like it was like the insults were impressive.
Yes, they really were. As impressive as the name tags. But we're getting on a little bit of a side rant. So this guy gets into the school, and it's an hour later.
Yeah. Well,
No. Police arrive within 30 minutes.
Something. But when he first got into the school, they said he was approached by a security guard or whatever. And then it turns out that there never was a security guard on campus in the first place.
Yeah. And we finally got the timeline pulled up in front of us so we can be official about this from the Washington Examiner. But yeah, that's one of the first inconsistencies, like Merce just said. No saying there's a security officer when there's not. And you would think they'd know that before they'd say it to the press.
Yeah.
Like, you would think, just in the interest of covering their own ass.
I think there was supposed to have been one is the problem.
Oh. And
yeah.
There's probably someone pulled them off for...
Yeah, I don't know.
So anyways, here's our official timeline from the Washington Examiner. At 11:28, Ramos, the shooter, crashes the car near the school. And at 11:40, Ramos enters the school. What was that, 12 minutes? Yeah, okay. At 11:43, the school locks down in response to gunshots. So that's 3 minutes after he's entered the school. The school is locked down. At 11:44, cops arrive, police officers arrive on the scene. And now they had been called to him shooting his grandmother in the face, that she survived. So they were already aware
something was going on.
Something wild was going on. Because they went to his house to try to see her, and then I'm not sure if they chased him. I don't think they chased him. I think he got no. And then he crashed into the school. So at 11:44, 4 minutes after he gets there, police officers arrive on the scene. 10 minutes later, at 11:54, family members start to plead with police officers to do something. So apparently it's been 10 minutes of assessing the situation. Which, hey, all right, let me... I don't want to just egg on my... Yeah. I don't want to bash them. I don't want my bias. I want to keep my bias in check. My natural bias is to be critical of the socialist police departments, the government-enforced ones. But I'm going to really try hard to be fair. So for 10 minutes, they're at least assessing the situation from 11:44 to 11:54. Then at 12:23, Uvalde police provide an update So 11:54 to 12:23. What is that? 30 minutes? Yeah, just about 30 minutes. Well, hang on. Since they arrived, it's about 45 minutes. It's about 45 minutes since they arrived. They start providing an update. At roughly 12:40, 17 minutes later, Border Patrol arrives and does what needs to be done. Some dude with a shotgun from a barber, which we're going to get into that in a minute. Just hold your horses. I like that guy. And at 1:06 p.m., police announce Ramos has been stopped by homeboy with a shotgun. So that's the timeline. And I'm going to try very hard not to tear them apart. Actually, let me take that back. Merch corrected me, and we wanted to make sure we keep it straight. Supposedly, so they're saying in the official account that is ever changing. The guy with the shotgun did not kill him like I thought. It was spread around on Facebook and social media posts. It's the one sharp side of the sword that we don't like on social media is a rumor can fly around the world before the truth gets its pants on, but right now we're not even sure what the truth is. So something else we were looking at was how NPR had a really good article, which that's something you might never hear me say again, on it's the biggest shifts of the official account of the Uvalde shooting. And like Merce said, at first they said there was a security officer there on standby, and then bloop, that disappeared. No, that's not right. Even Greg Abbott, it says that this, Abbott said he'd been, quote, misled about the police response to the shooting. I know the police chief refused to cooperate anymore with the Texas Rangers that were assisting with the investigation.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And...
Get him, Walker.
If only. He'd roundhouse kick all them damn people to the face. But also, he got elected to city council, but like that was when the real conspiracy part of my mind started turning the gears. He won the election like a couple of months ago or last year or something. He got officially sworn in. However, what's usually a public event, they decided to do behind closed doors and not have any press, which... If I'm steel manning them, they might want to say something like, well, it's a meeting that has to do with him getting the city council position and not with the Uvalde shooting. And if there's press there, of course, they would ask him a bunch about the Uvalde shooting, which apparently he is in no position to give answers on.
No. Nobody has them.
No. And, like, for one, I can understand the cops assessing the situation for 10 minutes. I figure once you start hearing shooting, you can figure out where it's coming from, though. At least the general direction. But I could give them 10 minutes. Hell, I'd give them 20 minutes for figuring it out. If you've got a large group of parents there that are screaming their head off at you while you're trying to figure something out, no, I would say, like, that would cut them some slack. But even then, God, I hate myself. But at least from what I see in the movies and on shows, and like, if I'm being for real, that's my reference point here. I mean, they have some power to keep people back to let them concentrate and figure out a situation. But good God, man, when there's just kids getting teed off on, and you're just sitting there waiting, and I read one quote that said they were worried the shooter has body armor. Yeah. And it's like, who do the firefighters care that the fire is hot? But do they still, like, they might die. They still go in there and try to save people. And, like, someone could make the argument, which there's a little bit there for, like, well, they didn't want to rush in and maybe get too many more people killed. It's like, yes, but I'm sure a firefighter could have that logic on he doesn't want to step on the wrong floorboard and send the whole place down. Like, you can make that logic on anything. You can't demand perfection from these guys, but I'll tell you, the fact that a mom got put in handcuffs by them and then got out of handcuffs. They never really got heavy on the details on if they let her out or if she got out herself. At least I couldn't find it. Ran inside, saved her 2 kids, and ran out. If she could do that, which, devil's advocate, maybe they're in a really far part of the school that the shooter wasn't in or something like that. Cops were smashing windows and getting kids out. But a couple of things. I'm going to try to stay away from typical tropes, because I am very not even pro Second Amendment. I mean, I guess I technically am. I'm for the right for you to be able to to self-defense, and whatever form that comes in.
Hand grenades out of vending machines.
Whatever. Whatever. Hey, if you use it, it's on you. And let the community do with you what they want. You throw it out in some cow pasture somewhere and don't hurt nothing. That's one thing. You do it in downtown, I'm sure there's going to be like 5 families wanting to rip you limb from limb. The only thing that would probably stop them is the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's my thing. Like, when I'm hearing in a lot of the debate right now about AR-15s, I'm hearing a lot of conservatives quote the Second Amendment. And God bless you guys. I appreciate it. The part of me that still has a soft spot for that document, which is very small, that's like the one part I really appreciate people believing in a lot. The thing that drives me crazy, especially with these quote-unquote constitutional experts that you'll see on Fox News. I see them on Fox News. That's what I walk by. My real bone to pick is with a Mr. Mark Levin. Have you ever heard of this dude? No. He's an analyst on Fox News. He has his own radio show. And he is, by God, if he pins his whatever you pin on anything, what it is that he understands, like of all the people at Fox News, he understands the Founding Fathers. And he understands all the constitutional amendments and stuff. And the guy was saying, this might have actually been before the shooting, but I'm certain this is being recirculated, is that, man, if only our Founding Fathers could have just been a little more clear and more precise on that wording in the Second Amendment. It's like, you know what? I kind of agree with you at first glance, Mark Levin. That's a good point. If only they wrote like dozens and dozens of pages to further explain what they meant when they wrote the Constitution. Oh, turns out they did. They're called the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, and nobody brings them up. You know why nobody brings them up? Because they destroy any argument of like, oh, the Founding Fathers couldn't have envisioned people with weapons of war or whatever. Laughs and privateer. Our government hired privateers, private citizens with warships to conduct war on their behalf. And you didn't have to have a special license. You just like, hey, I'm hiring. Oh, U.S. government, you want to pay me? Sure, you're a customer. You steal your money to pay for it, but whatever, it's all money to me. But let me give you one quote, like just to put this in perspective. This is one of the Federalist Papers. And I'd like to thank a very nice lady on Twitter who shared a lot of these quotes. I can't remember her name or her call out, but I want to thank her in case she ever listens to this. But she released a lot of these clips from the Federalist Papers. And this is from Richard Henry Lee, Federal Farmer number 18, written on January 25th, 1788. Quote. And hang on, back up from that quote. He's expounding, he's giving out the argument for why we wrote the Second Amendment and to further explain it. And this is why I hate these supposed constitutional experts. Because listen, you'll never hear them bring this up. Quote. A militia, when properly formed, are in fact the people themselves, and include, according to the past and general usage of the states, all men capable of bearing arms. To preserve liberty, it is essential that the whole body of the people always possess arms, and be taught alike, especially when young, how to use them. Unquote. So, to get like the old fancy language out, like in summary for my redneckerians out there, pretty much the people are the militia that is spoke of in the Second Amendment. Like, it's all of us. And he says it very clearly, like, we expect y'all to know how to use guns.
Raise them, start them young.
Just literally start them young, teach them how to practice, because that's how you have to preserve liberty, is everybody has to have a gun. And, I could sit here and when people say, like, what? Hey, when people in the same breath say the AR-15 is a weapon of war, and then in the next breath say, what, you expect to use an AR-15 to take on the federal government? And it's like, which one is it? It can't be both. So, like, the point of us being armed, I wouldn't even say is precisely to lead a revolt against the government. That's a part of it if things get too out of control. But actually, I believe the main chunk of it is it's a lot harder to boss people around when they got guns. When they ain't got any way to defend themselves, it's as easy as signing a piece of paper. And you can make all the people with the shiny badges and the nice uniforms do whatever. You make people do whatever they want. But if everyone's got guns, that shifts that playing field. That is like, oh, I got to make these people do what I want and somehow have them go along with it. I can't just stick a gun in their face and go do it or else, because then they whip out the gun and go, all right, or else. I've been waiting forward for this. Waiting for it. No, blah, blah, blah. I've been waiting for this and looking forward to this. Not both together. That was weird. But yeah, you'll never hear the constitutional experts bring this up. Why? Why wouldn't they bring this up if this is such like a slam dunk? By the way, this is like one quote of like 20 I sat down and read yesterday that is explicitly like, even in the First Amendment, like one of the arguments they're making is like, well, should it be legal for people to be able to openly publish lies? And the response to that is like, yes, it should be. Because it might be bad if people lying. What's worse is a government picking what is a lie and what is the truth. Like, in all these Federalist Papers, they get, because, you know, they teach us in the public indoctrination centers that we just kind of woke up one day and the founding fathers, who just got done meeting in secret with no press, whipped out a constitution, said, hey, America, here's the new law. And everybody went, great idea. Let's go along with that. No, like they had to pin up Federalist Papers and be like, here's our extensive argument on how this minimal government is supposed to work. How this government that is designed to be constrained and small for all of eternity can never get out of control. And, you know.
And I feel like now you guys did not listen. We gave you the rule book.
Here's the thing. People did listen. It's just they were listening to lawyers who were interpreting this shit. And people that were picking out what parts they wanted people to listen to. And to get back to my point, why aren't these talking heads that are supposed to be on conservatives on TV bringing up like these slam dunk arguments? Because that would end the argument.
Yeah.
Because that would truly show the intent of our founding fathers and the people that made this country. And you can go, all right, you can have gun control if you admit this is not the country they created. Because very, very intentionally and specifically they have it along these lines. So this is something else. This is like a monster. And here's the thing. I love the marketing of America. Like, I really do believe the marketing that I was taught. Like, this is the land of the free. Like, yeah, we have more laws than like anybody else, but like it was born out of this desire to not have any kings or rulers, for people to be able to, for the first time in history, make their own path, except the natives. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that's not you. Everybody else, though.
Our bad.
Our bad. Hashtag, we sneezed a little bit. But like Noam Chomsky said, great leftist, and I got his name right this time. The reason you don't see real dissent is because they keep this debate to a very constrained section of the actual argument, where like my best example is taxes. They argue, the Republican will argue taxes need to go down by 2.5%. The Democrat will argue they need to go up by 3.5%. Meanwhile, nobody talks about if they should be taxed at 0 or at 100%. Like that,
yeah.
You know, it keeps that out of the argument and they can control it. And that's why I feel like these damned, I think I've said it on here before, these damned wolf in sheep's clothing conservative talking heads are like the worst. I think they're the preacher that smokes crack. Like, I'm like, y'all are taking this thing I believe in and you're perverting it.
Right.
Stop it. I hate you worse than the atheist that's protesting outside.
At least you know what he's protesting and trying to accomplish.
And you're like, hey, he's kind of got a fucking point when you're smoking crack, preacher. Yeah. like that atheist, you're giving him ammunition.
Yeah.
But, so I mentioned one of the bad parts of social media is kind of getting this information that can be wrong, but the nice part of it is, man, I'm seeing so many right-wingers go like, oh, these cops like are supposed to, I back the blue because they would die for my kids protecting them in this situation. They're like, oh, you stand around and wait because someone might have body armor or might like, and you're arresting parents that are trying to do something, and I'm seeing so many switches click on different people. Whether they think it's a conspiracy set up by the CIA, which, hey, maybe, I just gotta see some good evidence first. Or whether it's a nut job that just went off and did this, but it's like, what did the police really do? They got rid of them, they killed them, but in a school zone, in a gun-free zone, where the guy brings the guns, and all of Canada just turned into that. Which, by the way, our Canadian friend Bubbles, what was his, Trudeau, for those of you that don't know, just banned all sales of handguns in Canada. What was our country Canadian bumpkin to the north's thoughts about that?
Oh, he's losing his mind.
Yeah. And that
his family moved to like their cabin, like they have this like city, and like there's like just going old school, buying canned goods and stuff.
And from what I understand, Canada is a lot like the United States in the aspect that like the metropolises, the cities lean hard left, but then you go out in the woods away from that, and it's like everybody's like, no, that's dumb shit.
Sorry.
Real sorry about that. Oh man. But Trudeau, I mean, like, back to my World Economic Forum legit conspiracy theory talk. Well, every big thing this guy pushes, and I've heard Canada used as an example by Klaus Schwab. Be like, yes, we have penetrated many government cabinets around the world, like Canada, like was the one he used, and it's like, oh, all this stuff this guy is saying is like beneficial to this guy being Trudeau. Everything he's saying is beneficial to this World Economic Forum in some way. It's either disarming the populace, it's making them cheaper, or not cheaper, it's cheapening their money where they can't buy as much goods. It's, God, thank God in the United States we have a more complicated system where it's harder to get stuff done. That was my one tip of the hat. It's not my only one, but it's a big one I'll give to the founding fathers. They were like, if one guy wants to do something in this country, it's going to be very hard. And then the progressives said, hold my beer, we're going to make a bunch of federal bureaucracies that don't even answer to Congress except for a little bit of oversight that are going to do what they want. But at least that's a lot they have to invade, a lot more than just take over a president and make him do whatever you want. But, I'm going to get off the real open. I don't have an answer for Uvalde. It was a terrible guy doing terrible shit. I know, at least when it comes to the Second Amendment, don't touch my guns, and we got a lot better arguments than the crap you're hearing on the TV and the news, and just do your own damn research. Or holler at me. I'll send you some links. I don't know. Bad situation. I think we need to wait for a little bit more information to come out, if it ever does. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Las Vegas. And see what happens from there. But I'm going to get off this broad, big topic, and I'm going to drop it down to a really niche topic. It's political, but I'm really hoping it's going to open some things up here in the near future. So what I'm talking about is a specific political caucus, and you're not going to... I try very hard not to care and not to tell people who to vote for. And that's when I'm talking about this political caucus, I'm not talking about necessarily people voting for them. It's the Mises caucus of the Libertarian Party. Now, let me say first and foremost, the Libertarian Party has mostly been it's had such good ideas in the party that has been messaged in the crappiest and jokingliest way possible. They play it safe. They never say anything too they don't want to rock the boat too much. And it's almost like, I heard a guy at the Mises Institute kind of sum it up like this. He goes, they're libertarian as they don't want to use the state to enforce a progressive agenda. He goes, they still want a progressive agenda, just without a state enforcing it. And he goes, no. We're about you live however you want. You want to be as conservative as you want or liberal as you want, whatever. You ream the ramifications of that. So, an example of what I'm talking about how bad the Libertarian Party has been of this. Do you remember the last Libertarian presidential nominee, Merce? And I'm asking Merce, who has no idea about any of this. He's my straight man on this, and I'm the ultra nerd.
No. I couldn't tell.
No, nobody does. Her name was Jo Jorgensen. She was about as exciting as a saltine cracker. I'll tell you this. If you were to ask her, her opinions on policies, me and her would probably like line up 99% of the way, or like 90. But how she went about it was the most boring, and they all have been. The one everyone remembers is Gary Johnson. What do you remember about Gary Johnson, Merce?
I don't remember.
You don't even remember Gary Johnson? If you remember anything, it was What is Aleppo? And he was like the governor that smoked pot. Would be like the way to remember him. And everyone slaps their head. He was what I was talking about the last episode with, like, it's part of his identity almost. And it's like, stop.
Yeah.
But, like, one of Joe Jorgensen's big tweets was, oh God, what was it? And this was in the Summer of Love in 2020. Y'all remember the Summer of Love when all the buildings were on fire and all the riots were happening, and there's BLM riots. Some were peaceful protests, but the ones that CNN was calling.
I would have thought that we hadn't peaked then.
Yeah,
it's still going.
It's still going. Oh, good God, horribly good point. If CNN was calling it a peaceful protest, it wasn't. But Jo Jorgensen, at that time, she was the Libertarian nominee. She said, it's not enough to not be racist. We all must actively be anti-racist. And all the Libertarians collectively went, that's kind of none of your fucking business. Like, we're in the legal camp, not in the what you should think camp. Anyways, that was as strong as the messaging got. Merce, what's your impersonation just of that?
I completely zoned out.
Okay, yeah. All right, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Because I did it.
Yeah, because nobody cares. Nobody cares.
My brain literally just crickets.
It's the political party I'm most, I'm not even going to say associated with, that I tend to like their planks the most. And God, they've sucked. Now, there's been a caucus that's risen up in this that is named after a guy named Ludwig von Mises. Or Ludwig.
I'm glad you said something because I thought the name was...
Yeah, the name sounds weird. I'm not going to lie. Here's why they named it after Mises. Here's how badass of a guy he was. All right? It's back in the late 30s, post-war Germany. Nazis have come to political power. I don't know if they're necessarily gassing Jews yet, but they're definitely looking at them funny. And Ludwig von Mises is one of the most... And you got to realize, the Nazis really hated two things. They hated freedom-loving capitalists, and they really hated communists. Like, that was their... And they were like, we're going to use fascism, which is like a good mixture of those two. It's a free market that the government can control. That's not really free, but there's still a market at least. And they hired Mises to be like, hey, you're a good economist and mathematician. Help us prove communism wrong. And he goes, no problem. Writes it all out, has a big law, like he makes a big study and puts on paper mathematically how communism doesn't work. However, there's a kicker to his thesis. He's kind of like, well, for the same reason communism won't work, is the same reason fascism won't work, is the same reason democracy won't work. It's government. Yeah. You all have government involved, and we can't figure out the prices of shit. And he's like, that's the thing. If you don't know, the government gets rid of prices because it just absorbs it on a tax base. And he mathematically proved, like, none of this works in the end. And the Nazis were like, get him. Like, get him. No, you ain't allowed to disprove communism that hard. They burned the guy's library down. He immigrated to the United States, had none of his notes, had not like hardly any of his stuff he could survive with, learned English and rewrote his library. All right? And the guy mathematically proved none of this government shit works. He's an anarchist. And Michael Heiss started the Mises Caucus, named it after this dude. And his thing was, he goes, if you think it's bad now, if you think we're in a bad place and you're like freedom oriented, he goes, this was the only guy that believed in this stuff. Like, he was the one, like, there's like a couple thousand or maybe a couple million of us now. This was the one.
Yeah.
And he just spread it out to some others, and it's grown since then. So the thing about the Mises Caucus is, this is what I'm getting in the nuts and bolts of. They have recently swept and taken over the Libertarian Party. And a shitload of people have quit over it. Because they're like, they're too racist, or which they're not racist at all. Hell, it's run by Jews and black people are at the top of it, but they're like, it's black people that say all gun control is racist, and they go to the hood and show blacks how to use guns properly and like really do stuff we don't like. I'm going to share with y'all, since they've taken over, they started a meme campaign to be like, hey, here's the new Libertarian Party, right? Here's the new face of it. I'm going to quote the one meme they sent out. It's a quote by Michael Badnarik. And here's the thing. With previous, like, Libertarian presidential nominees or anyone that had a chance at getting any public attention, they would say the really cool parts very quietly and the very corporate-y parts very loud. Mises is switching that around. At least the idea is. And here's the quote from Michael Badnarik, the Libertarian presidential nominee in 2004, but this is Mises putting out on Twitter. And tell me, how do you feel about this quote? Quote, I'm a very peaceful man. I love people and I'm known for my gregarious personality. However, if you try to confiscate my guns, I will feel compelled to give them to you one bullet at a time.
Nice.
Yeah, like and this is gonna, again, I'm not gonna tell the first person that isn't inclined to vote for Mises Caucus or to vote at all. I don't care how people vote. What I am excited about is now this group has the keys to an official Twitter, a blue checkmark Twitter platform, a political party that in all kinds of ways can't be censored. Like if there's people you can't censor via current analysis of the Constitution, it's political parties. And they're about to start a shitstorm. Like my hope is, what Ron Paul did for 2 years during his Republican presidential campaign, you're about to hear on repeat over and over again. And if you think the corporate press is having a hard time keeping the lid on stuff right now, I think it's about to explode.
Yeah.
And they're not going to know what to do with themselves. However, I could be very wrong about this. And like I said, this is a real niche topic. I'm sure as soon as I said Libertarian Party, a lot of people tuned out. And my point is, I don't blame you for tuning out. And it's been garbage.
Oh, it literally happened to me.
Yeah, it literally, my producer who's supposed to pay attention and catch my mistakes and everything. But yeah, he tuned out. My hope is that these people, we're about to have somebody with a much bigger spoon to stir the pot. And Michael Malice might be in charge of their Twitter. And he's the guy that wrote the Anarchist Handbook. And he's single-handedly the best troll on Twitter. Just the best shit starter. So that's my white pill. That's my hope for the future. That this mind virus that is freedom, that is the belief in freedom, but if you look at it like a virus, voting is just a symptom of the virus. Not everybody that thinks a certain way votes that certain way. Most people don't vote at all. But if you can just get enough people thinking a certain way, to hell with how they vote. Try enforcing a law on a group of people that just all collectively go, we don't believe in the laws from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping is about to kick off. And who knows, it might start with we don't believe in the laws from Washington, D.C. and trickle down to, we don't really believe the laws in Tallahassee. We just want our community, we want our neighborhoods rules run by us and not some guy 1,000 miles away that has no idea about my situation. But everybody, that's been my episode. It's getting late. I hope y'all have enjoyed my ramblings. Please follow me at Bandit Radio Hour on Twitter. Check out my YouTube. Leave the comments. I will reply to every single one I can. And if you have any criticisms, any feedback, shoot them at me. I will highlight them on the episode. Good talking to y'all. And y'all be safe out there.